my name is Tiffany and this is my channel, Who's Your Handmaid? Thank you so much for stopping by today. In today's video, it is video 2 of my organizational series, and today we are talking about fabric, how I store it, how I catalog it, and even how I fold it. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. All right, let's start out with what am I wearing today. I'm just in a ready-to-wear t-shirt and a ready-to-wear jean skirt today. This is a weekend day. I'm filming this on the weekend, so it's just a comfy kind of cozy day around here. Lots of sewing hopefully gonna happen after I record this video, so just kind of a fun cozy day here at home. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so. I would love to add you to my growing list of friends. Thank you so much to all of those who have subscribed already. It is so amazing to chat with you guys. Leave a comment, introduce yourself if you have not, or just chat with me. Tell me how you store and catalog, even fold your fabric. I would love to know. Let me know in the comments. I would love to chat with you. Ring the bell, you guys, if you would like to be notified about when I post a video. I've kind of gotten into a rhythm of every Tuesday and every Friday. Friday being, of course, the hashtag Friday video. Hashtag Friday Sews video, and then Tuesday I've kind of went the route of like a themed video. This one obviously is an organizational series. I've done pattern and fabric hauls. I've done my fall plans. That was a really fun video. So yeah, subscribe and hit that bell if you want to be notified about when I post a video. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you like this kind of content, and comment below. I love to chat with you guys. Thank you so much for your support of my channel. It really means so much. All right, so getting into this series, last Tuesday was my first video in this organizational series, and it was all about my pattern stash, how I catalog my patterns, how I organize them, and then how I store them, to include the big 4 patterns and also the PDF patterns. So if you have not watched that video and you need some organizational ideas, or you're just nosy to find out what's Tiffany doing in her sewing room, go check it out. I totally will not judge you. I do that myself. I love those videos. That's one of the reasons that I'm doing these videos, is because I love to see how others are organizing and maybe get some ideas for myself. So today is all about how I fold, how I catalog, and then how I store my fabric stash. And I'll be honest with you, I have a lot of fabric. I have only been sewing for 2.5, 3 years really, garment sewing, and so that's really the beginning of my stash per se. But I don't know, as one does, see beautiful fabric, buy beautiful fabric, and then stash beautiful fabric. So yeah, so it was getting to be kind of a bear, and I knew that I needed some way to catalog and organize this fabric stash so that I knew what I had. And hence why all these kind of steps that I'm taking to organize myself. And I have, I've caveated last week's video, and I'm going to caveat this video, that organization, period, in your house, in your life, in your work, and especially in your sewing room, is so personal. So please do not feel like because Tiffany is doing it this way, I have to do that too. I said last week, this is just one of a million ways you can organize and catalog and even store. It is totally personal to your sewing room or your level of organizational need. Maybe you don't need to be, to this degree organized. That is totally fine. You do you. So just sit back, relax, and see how I do my organization. Maybe you'll glean something from it, or just enjoy the video. Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you what I do with fabric when it comes in the door. And then I'm just going to walk you through the process. I've got some video clips that I'll be inserting of me folding fabric, as well as how I put it into my app. I have another app that I use for my fabric. And then also in another video, I will be showing you my swatch book and how I use that. Another piece of organization that just keeps me as organized as I can be in my sewing room. Okay, so let's get started. So if I buy a piece of fabric, and let's be honest, it happens a lot. When I buy that piece of fabric, I'm bringing it, into my sewing room, and as soon as I bring it into my sewing room, I'm putting it in a pile to be washed. I'm not making any plans with it. I'm not cutting into it. I'm not doing anything with it until it has been washed. And I know this can kind of be a controversial topic, so I'm not telling you to wash your fabric. I'm not telling you to not wash your fabric. I'm just telling you how I do it. So I always just immediately wash it. I did not start doing it that way. I've progressed as I've grown, and I have, done more research and gained more knowledge into sewing, and this is just how I do it. So I will wash my fabric first, and then I will use my app to help me catalog it. So when I bring a piece of fabric in and it's already been washed, I've washed it and dried it how I intend to when that piece of that garment has been completed. I will fold it onto comic book boards. Take the sticky off there. So they look like this. They measure, forgive me if I look at my notes, 7 by 10.5. You can buy these on Amazon for 100 count. That's how I bought them, and they were $16.18 the last time I looked. So that was about a month ago. It could have changed by then, but that's a rough number. So these come in a pack of 100. They are glossy on one side and matte on the other. Not that it matters to me. Why did I choose these? I chose comic book boards because when my stash started growing, as I said before, I started going out onto YouTube and watching these kinds of videos and seeing how people store their fabric, how they roll it onto what I'm going to refer to during this video as bolts. I call them bolts of fabric, even though, I mean, we know they don't look like like a bolt of fabric necessarily that you would see at Joann's or Hobby Lobby or something. But these are my bolts, and people were using these comic book boards. Now, you can use all kinds of things to roll your fabric on. If you have an Amazon box, you can cut that thing up into sized pieces, and you can use that. Or some people use foam core board from like Dollar Tree or Dollar General or even Walmart. Totally fine. You do what works for you. Why I chose these were because they were readily available on Amazon. I could get 100 of them, relatively inexpensive, only $16, and they were already cut to size. So all of them come just like this. They come cut just like this, and they're ready to rock and roll. So it was a convenience factor, it was a time management factor, like I could get them in 2 days with my Prime shipping. So that is why I chose comic book boards. Why I love comic book boards, and you could do this with your own kind of board that you create yourself, is that they're all going to be this shape. I wanted all of my fabric, it's gonna grow a little bit on the sides, and even it could grow up here a little bit, but they're all going to be about this size, which makes stacking much more conducive to looking like you're organized. I was finding before I got these that I would have, fabric rolled up like this long, and then some was like this long, and then some was like this, and then my stacks were just not organized at all. Fabric would hide in between other fabric because that was just how I was rolling it. So that is why I have comic book boards, and you will see me using them in my video, my clips on how I roll up fabric. That is what I'm using. Also, another tool that I use is common stick pins. I don't know if you can kind of hard to see in these bags. They're just common stick pins, and I will use those on my bolts of fabric to indicate, you can kind of see it there, to indicate that I have washed this particular bolt of fabric. Like I said, I did not start out washing my fabric, so I knew that when I did start the new process of washing everything that came in the door, I needed to somehow indicate to myself that that it was washed. And I know, you know, stick pins might not be the best idea. It was just what I had. I had these handy, and that seemed like a good idea at the time. I'm hoping, you know, that they don't rust or they don't cause holes in the fabric. You kind of have to watch what fabric you put those into. You don't want to cause tears or holes or anything. That's just what, it's just what works for me. So that is what I use the stick pins for. And then, like I said, once I get it rolled up, I will put it into my app. So let's look at the clips that are me rolling up fabric right now, rolling it onto the boards. I did one that was like a 60-inch wide fabric, and then I did another one that is like a 45 wide fabric. Those, they do make a difference. So let's watch those clips now. Okay, so this is a 60-inch wide knit fabric. I think I have 2 yards of this here. So to roll this up on my boards, I am going to first fold it in half, selvage to selvage. Roughly there's not 2 yards here. It's actually only a yard and a third, roughly. Okay, so I've got it folded selvage to selvage, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause, and I am going to cut myself a swatch. Cut a swatch off. I use my pinking shears. You can use whatever you want. Okay, and then now I'm going to, because this is a 60-inch wide fabric, I'm going to fold it in on itself twice. I'm going to come about 1/3 of a way in, 2/3 of the way in. Okay, and then I'm going to bring the top down and pull that back over. Why am I doing this? Because a 60-inch wide fabric does not roll precisely on these boards. So I need to make my fabric more to the measurements of this board, the length of this board. So I've kind of done that. 60-inch wide fabric is a little more difficult. Okay, then you lay your, pull this down here so you can see. You lay your comic book board here at the end, but I leave a tail of about 3/4 of the width of the board so that I can have a jumping off part. Okay, and then you just start folding your fabric up onto the board. Okay, and that's a sufficient tail there on the back, so I just leave it there. And now what I will do is I will take a stick pin and I will put it in here at the top so that I can know, that delineates to me that this fabric has been washed and it's ready to rock and roll. Okay, so next fabric. Okay, this is a 45-inch wide cotton, but there is a ton here, as you can see. There's probably, I don't know, 4.5 yards here. So this is a lot. So what I will do first again is fold it up on itself, fold it in half, selvage to selvage. This might take me a minute. Okay, so I've got it folded up, selvage to selvage, and I'm going to take one end of it. I'm going to lay it out flat. As flat as I can get it. I don't iron these before I roll them. some people do. I imagine, I know, it's gonna get more wrinkled anyway. So I'm gonna pause again, cut myself a swatch. Swatch looks like this. So that's good to go. Okay, now this is 45-inch wide fabric, so I only need to fold it up on itself one time, and it will fit very nicely on the board. Okay, so we'll get my board. Again, about 3/4 of the way in, so that I can have a little tail to hold on to here, and then I just start rolling. And I am holding it pretty firm so that it keeps its shape. Now I'm coming to the rest of my yardage here. So I just want to keep folding it kind of in that same manner, and it will want to fold itself up anyway, but you kind of need to rearrange it here. So that's what I will do for the rest of this yardage. Sometimes I even take it off the table, give it a little shake, and line it back up. Okay, that's not a very good tail there at the end, so I'm going to fold it in on itself, and there we go. That is my 45-inch wide fabric. I'm going to put a pin to tell myself that I have washed this. And there we have the 4.5 yards of 45-inch wide cotton. Okay, so you saw how I roll up my fabric on those boards. Every single fabric that's washed gets rolled up onto one of those comic book boards, and then I am ready to catalog it in my app. Now I'm gonna scoochie over, there we go. So I'm gonna show you a picture of the app that I use. Like I said in last week's video, there are probably a ton of these apps out there. Some are in testing, some are readily available. Trello, I mentioned last week. I think you can put fabric in it. I've never used Trello. This is a free app that I found on the Apple App Store. I have an iPhone. So this one worked for me. Find one that works for you. You can utilize this one. It's free, or don't use an app at all. I mean, it's totally up to you. I'm just showing you what I use. So this app is called, make sure I get it right, Stash Star Fabric. So hopefully I'm showing you a little clip of how to find that on the App Store. It's a great app. It is a little bit clunky. It's a little bit kind of like old-fashioned looking, but it has such capability. You can take a picture of your fabric. You can take multiple pictures of your fabric. You can enter in a description, what kind of fabric it is. You can put tags on it. And by tags, I mean that when you filter it, you can filter all the clothing fabric and all the quilting fabric and maybe all the upholstery fabric. And then you can put in length, like how wide is your fabric, 45, 60, 58. You can put in how much you have of your fabric, and they give you all kinds of options for lengths. They'll give you all kinds of like fractional measurements and stuff. And then also a really cool piece is that they have a portion in there for your source. Like I bought this at Joann's. What date you purchased that fabric from. So 10/20, what's today? 10/21 of 2022, and then how much you paid for it. And I always go by the yard. So what did I pay per yard for that piece of fabric. If I paid $4.99 a yard, I would write that in there. And then it remembers, you guys, that is really an awesome piece of this app. If you enter in Joann's one time in that source option box, it remembers Joann's. So when I go to enter in another piece of fabric, if I just type in J, it automatically brings up Joann's in the drop down. So that is an amazing feature. It really saves you time in your typing. And then they have like a notes section, and I don't even scratch the surface with all the categories that you can fill in about this fabric. Hopefully I've kind of shown you what the app looks like in there. So yeah, let me put in a couple clips of how I catalog my fabric. So it's been folded and now it's ready to go in the app, and let's watch that here. Okay, so how did you like that? That app is pretty cool. I love using it. Really, it's just perfect for me, and that's what matters. You know, if it works for you, use it. So that is my app where all my fabric is. And not to go into next week's video, but the reason that I started my swatch book, one of the reasons, and I'll go over all of them next week, but one of them was that when I was taking pictures with this app, it's not the highest quality picture. So if I had two black fabrics in there, it was getting really hard to tell which black fabric was the one that I needed to pull out and use. So hence why I started cutting off swatches. You might have seen me in those videos cut a swatch out of any fabric that I'm folding, and I put those in my swatch book. And one of the main reasons is because this app does have pretty low quality pictures in it. Even though you're using like a high quality iPhone to take the pictures, they just don't translate very well into that app. Prints, like this particular swatch, I would have been like, oh yeah, that print stands out and I could find this very easily. But it was like the plain colors that I was really having a hard time differentiating between. So that's why I started my swatch book. And if you want to see more about the swatch book, tune in next week. Alright, so that is how I catalog my fabric, how I fold it, how I wash it, yada yada. So now, as far as storing my fabric, I do have wire shelving, and I'll put in a little video of how I organize my fabric. My husband installed this wire shelving for me for my birthday one year, and it was like I was getting all this stuff for sewing and I had nowhere to go with it, so we had to go up. So we have put that along technically I have 3 walls of shelving, but 2 of them are used for fabric in kind of odd kind of spots. It's just the shared room. It's put fabric where it will go for now. In my new sewing room, it'll be even more different, so we might have a new video to do for the new sewing room. But for this one, I have stacked it up on wire shelving, and they are in columns and then rows of fabric so that I can hopefully find my fabric pretty easily. It's getting to be a lot. So a future state, maybe in the sewing room and maybe not till I get to my new one, is to catalog and store my fabric all like knits over here and wovens over here. I do tend to have more knits and they are more bulky to store, so sometimes you just have to kind of put fabric where fabric will go. But I will show you what that looks like up on my wire racks, and it works for now. Could it be better? Probably. But it's working for this space and this time, so we're gonna go with it. Okay, so that is how I fold, organize, and then store all of my fabric. And it's quite a lot around here, you guys. So it's an ongoing process. But let me know in the comments what you do for your fabric stash. Let me know how you catalog it and how you store it. I would love to gain some more tips and tricks for myself to use, especially in my new sewing room. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and that will do it for me today, you guys. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.